Earlier, you had mentioned the JIRA integration, which is great. We have our first class JIRA integration is wonderful. Wanted to touch more on that as well. What are some of the tools that you use within Centercode that, really power the success of your program? And are there any other integrations beyond JIRA that you use with Centercode to really get that communication and that lack of friction going?
So I've made good friends with a few people at Centercode. Shout out to Tony, by the way. So Tony knows I do the weird stuff with integrations. Like, you give us an API, what stupid things can we do with this? I think maybe a really good example is on the I believe on the integrations guide page. It's somewhere I've seen it. I promise you it's there. Yeah. There's a guide how to basically create a bot that interfaces with Centercode API on Discord. And I think I was the first person to ever actually do something like this. And I'll explain to you what I would use it for. It's not just for fun, although it is fun. But my name's on there saying like, hey, thanks. And it's like, cool. Yeah, no problem. Because it's awesome. So I use that integration. That's a really important one. So basically what happens is we tie webhooks to Centercode, and then we feed that into Discord. So when somebody submits a bug, it goes on Discord. Because one thing I've noticed is that my community especially will respond faster to things on Discord, right? Now, Discord sucks to keep things organized. So I make sure that, like, hey, make sure you click that to respond to it or whatever it is, right? To upvote it or add a reply. So everybody knows that. That's well documented for them to do. But one of the cool things is we create a forum channel, and in that forum channel are multiple threads. Each one of those threads is a bug submission and feedback. So we have two sections for that. Functionally identical though. And what will happen is when a bug is submitted, it's raised as new, right? And then if something happens or a status changes, I change it and say like in progress, which basically means, hey, we reproduced it and it's internal ticketing now. Engineering is working on it. That flips it automatically so that everybody can see that it's in progress. So it's sort of aligning Discord with what's going on in Centercode, and then that can feed back into Centercode with things that they're doing on Discord. So it's very, very cool. And, it's part of my community management strategy to make sure that the conversations that are on Discord do make it into Centercode, because Centercode is infinitely better at tracking stuff. But I do want to make sure that the testers are comfortable with something that they understand and they're more engaged with, because it's not taking them off platform somewhere. Right. So, I think that's been one of the best tools that I've put together. The JIRA integration was mission critical. This was something that I set up at AMD where we, basically had a synchronization pipeline where if something on Centercode was submitted to JIRA, then the status of JIRA would reflect back into Centercode, and any comments reflect back into Centercode. And then any comments in Centercode goes into the ticket so the engineers can see the beta tester feedback on it. And if they add more stuff, including attachments and everything, that was the best thing I've used. And it was so smooth. And it made it basically because really once I looked at a ticket, or one of my staff members at the time looked at the ticket and they go, yeah, I've reproduced this, or yeah, this is definitely valid. We set a macro status that basically says send to JIRA, right? And once it's sent to JIRA, that's it, hands off on the Centercode side. It's completely synchronized. So it means that I don't have to go back and manually change the status and try to keep a manual synchronization of what's the internal engineering ticket status versus what's the Centercode status, how stale is it, right? And I did have macros set up to try to help me with that. But once that JIRA integration was in there, it basically just saved me from backtracking entirely. It's like the ultimate solution to my initial Discord problem. So tickets there, it's hands off once we send it to engineering. That was one of the coolest things I think I've used with Centercode to date, for sure.
It allows you to track because we need status, right? When we collect feedback, if we just add feedback, it's just a pile of information. Yep. Status allows us to understand what we're doing with the feedback. So if things are getting resolved, boom, counter for ROI right there. We found something and fixed it, and it's useful.
Exactly. And also, because we have to close the loop, right? Like you can't just like have Centercode in a vacuum. The tester's not going to always pay attention. Like, let's be honest, they're not going to pay attention. They're not F5ing the page, looking at what the ticket's doing, right?
Yeah.
So we had it so that basically the JIRA status would change, the Centercode status would change. It would be aligned to the same status. So let's say it's fix implemented. It would be fix implement, or in JIRA, it'd be fix implemented in Centercode. And then what will happen is we set up a macro trigger based off that to email the tester saying, hey, dude, we fixed your problem. Please test this driver. And we also had the Discord part that would send it into Discord into a fixed issues specific channel so that people could see like, oh, it was fixed here, or the original submitter would get an email. So like everybody, I tried to like blast it without being annoying about it. But basically everybody was able to kind of keep in lockstep, because the chances are if one issue is valid for one tester, it's going to be valid for 100% of them, basically, right? Unless it's some specific software interaction on their computer, which is pretty rare. If it's a driver problem, it means it would affect literally anyone that's maybe playing the same game or has the same graphics product. So that synchronization and sort of using Centercode as the input-output backbone of the whole thing, while also being almost entirely entirely automated, the value is tremendous, right? That's the moment when scaling happened. Once we had that synchronization using the advanced integrations, and then all the user management stuff, which by the way was the most important part, because I couldn't track our users. Like there's just two, like in Discord, it's like, well, here's your Discord ID. And then they just change their Discord name. Who are you? I don't know you anymore.
Yeah.
Right. So the user management part of Discord of Centercode was amazing. So all those things combined is what allowed me to scale. So if we're talking about what are the integrations that are important to you, I'd say all of them. I mean, all of them are useful, right? So I think in my case, especially being in graphics engineering, well, I'm going to use the API for any stupid thing that we can think of, right? So pretty much all of them, yeah.
Like a mad scientist, you just get something and you just say, "What can I do?"
If you give
with this?
it's mad scientist. It's perfect. It's exactly right. Yep.
Perfect. Yeah.
Just within the terms of service. So.
within the TOS, within the NDA,
within the TOS.
Yeah. But that sounds like a beautiful symphony of synergy, just all these tools working together. And if we have someone out there who's not using Discord, maybe they're using Slack, we also have that integration there as well. So if you're not hip on the gamer stuff, for anyone out there who's using Slack, we have something similar there as well. But that's beautiful. I don't know how else to describe it other than beautiful, because it just sounds like everything works in lockstep and you guys just save a ton of time, which is incredible.